Welcome to another episode of the Evermoore Wedding Vendor Show, where we talk with local wedding vendors about their business. And today, I have Liliana Pena from Swoon Florals, and she is here to talk about her business. Welcome to the show, Liliana.
Hi, thank you so much for having me on, Josh.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you for being here. We would love to hear a little bit more about your business and what you do.
Okay, so my name is Liliana, and I started a business called Swoon Floral Rentals. And so what we specialize in is silk floral arrangements for special occasions. So we're kind of catering a little bit more to weddings. So we have floral arches, we have floral walls, and we're working on getting the matching like floral aisle flowers to go matching with the arch. So that is kind of what we're focusing on now. And we also do like proposals. We have a heart where we do that, like, beautiful roses.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's another piece of what we do. So we specialize in silk floral rentals.
Very cool. So you do primarily silk flowers. Do you also do real flowers?
I do incorporate them into the silk floral arrangements. So if a bride or a customer wants to incorporate a certain flower, a certain color, or just wants it to give that like extra little sparkle that a real flower can provide, then we can add them into it. But I don't do any fresh arrangements completely fresh. I just mainly do the silk floral rentals, the flowers. And then we're also incorporating what they call now what is called a real touch flower. So it looks just like a real flower and it feels just like a real flower, but
wow.
It's a silk flower. So
that's very cool. So okay, so what is the benefit then for doing like these silk flowers as opposed to doing real flowers?
So there's a lot of benefits. So I'm going to share a story that kind of got my wheels turning into kind of this business. So when I got married, I spent, thousands of dollars, as most of us brides do, on florals. And when I got to the altar the day, because you talk to your florist and you say, this is my vision and this is what I want. This is the Pinterest, board and what I have in my head of what it's going to look like walking down the aisle. And I got to the aisle and it wasn't what I envisioned. It was different.
Oh no.
So I had wanted, on the arch, I got married at the Mill Creek Gardens.
Okay.
And so how they have the wooden arch there, I wanted like florals coming down and the florals were just straight on top. It wasn't like coming down on the side. And so I remember feeling a little disappointed, but I was like, I'm not going to let that. I'm just going to let it go. And then also at the end of the night, you're trying to get out before 11 o'clock and there's so many things to wrap up and get out of the venue that I just tossed all of my florals.
Oh man.
Yeah. And that hurt my heart because I love flowers. I love having flowers in my house. And it just really broke my heart to see all that money just kind of go down the drain. And so that is one of the benefits about the silk florals is sustainability. So
because you get to keep them or reuse them.
Yeah, I'm reusing them and I'm renting them for other brides, to use for their special occasion so that we're not throwing fresh flowers away. So that's one of the benefits. Another benefit is that kind of like what I shared earlier, that whatever vision you have in your brain, you will see that before your wedding. So you will see exactly how the flowers look, the colors, the lusciousness of them, if you want more, if you want less. Like, for example, if you were creating something custom, but even the ones that I have already made, you get to see it and you get to see like, I want to incorporate this color or I really like the way it looks already. So that's a benefit. Another thing is like for those brides that are wanting it something custom is that they are not limited to any flower that's, only in season during this time. Or, sometimes
because you can get any flower at any time because they're silk and it doesn't matter how hot it is. It doesn't matter any of that.
It doesn't matter. Like, for example, hydrangeas, right? They can wilt under the sun and they're very delicate. And so with a silk flower, you don't have that worry. You get to see it and you know that that's how it's going to look on your actual wedding day. So the color that you want, the size, you just kind of get to pick what you want and know that it's going to look that way on the day of your wedding. So I think that to me is so important because for me, it did matter. And I was disappointed when I kind of got there. And I love that, I can provide that to my brides or my clients. And I think that's something that's not, was at least that I'm aware of, readily available here in Bakersfield.
Yeah. So because they're silk flowers, you can set them up like I'm getting this now, right? Like,
Yeah.
okay, so you can set them up in advance. You can set them up in the morning. You can set them up the day before,
Yeah.
whatever it is. That way the bride can actually see the flowers and be like, I
Right.
love this. This is great. Instead of
Right.
you're rushing to set it up before the ceremony, but you want to keep them in the shade as long as you can so they
Yes.
don't die. Like that whole, thing that we see florists doing all the time.
Right.
We're like, don't set out the flowers because they're going to.
Yeah. In the shade. Or even like, for example, if a bride comes to me and says, I want this custom made for my wedding, I can I can show it to them, whatever the timeline is. But if they wanted to see it a week before, I could show that to them because I can make it, and I don't have no time frame on like it has to be done 24 hours before the wedding or the night before. So those are the kind of perks about using silk florals. And now, I know when we think silk florals, you think of like the flowers in your grandma's house. But
Right.
like now there's so many advancements in the floral industry, the silk floral industry, that now flowers just look like real flowers and they're very beautiful. So
Okay. Yeah. Because when I think fake flowers, I typically
Yeah.
associate that with like, okay, this was a cheaper wedding, and you can tell like
Right.
they went to the
Yeah.
dollar store and bought like
Yes.
fake like you see these kinds of events, and you're like, okay, they
Yeah.
went to the dollar store, they bought some fake flowers, and they're like roughly
Yeah.
on the edges, and you're like, okay, this is like from far away it looks all right, and we're just gonna
Yeah.
not get in too close with the camera, and then it looks
Right.
okay. But you're talking about like legit looking silk flowers.
Yeah. So now the flowers, like I was telling you, like the Real Touch now, they have like this 3D printing where like you could even see the veining almost like a real flower.
Oh wow.
Right. And they're made out of latex now. So there's the one that are like the Real Touch, they even feel like moist to the touch like a real flower does.
That's crazy.
And so I know that we just shared this shoot together
Yes.
that we did at the Willows. And so I know you saw the arch, right? And
Right.
I know a lot of people were fooled and thought that it was fresh florals, but
Yeah,
yeah.
I totally thought it was fresh flower. I was like, wow, that's a lot of
Yeah.
flowers. And I didn't get in like super close on it.
Right.
I just, cause I got some nice shots and everything, but I was just like, I wasn't super close. So I didn't even know they were fake
Right.
flowers. Well, actually, now that I think about it, I'm like, I do remember like filming shots of you, like putting some flowers in and being like,
Yeah.
oh, I guess those are fakes. Now I remember like, oh yeah, I remember seeing like the stems and stuff and being like,
Yeah.
oh, that doesn't look like it's a real flower, but it looks like a real flower.
It does.
So
Yeah.
that it looked great.
And so now that you mention it, that's another perk is that I feel like, with where we're at now, I feel like with inflation, the price of fresh florals is
Oh yeah.
crazy, through the roof. I feel like it's a great like option for brides if they're wanting to be, cost effective. You can get that really luscious look that might cost you 3-4 times that amount in, if you were to get fresh florals. So
Oh yeah.
there's a lot of perks to, using silk florals for your special day. So
Oh, okay. So, I mean, that brings up a good point, because it's like we've done weddings where, we're like talking to, the florist or whoever, and it's like, okay, they spent $20,000 on flowers at this wedding.
crazy.
And I'm like, it's gorgeous, but boy, that's a lot of money to spend on
A lot
flowers.
of money.
And so I'm like, okay, so how would the silk flowers compare? And now, of course, a lot of that money like is centerpieces and things where like the guests are right there. Like
Yeah.
they're like, they can touch it. So,
Yes.
typically when I've seen the fake flowers, it's like those cheaper ones where you're like, you get close and you're like, oh, that's a fake flower.
Right.
So the silk flowers you use, how do those compare? Like, say for a centerpiece where the guests are like right there, not necessarily that they're touching it. Obviously it sounds like, was it the Real Touch? Is that what it's called?
Yes, the Real.
Like those obviously will even feel semi-real, and they'll be like,
Real,
the guests,
right.
guests are like, wait, are these fake or are these real? How do the silk ones compare?
So the silk ones, you will be able to feel the difference because it doesn't feel, it just kind of feels like
It's going to feel like
cloth.
silk or something.
Right, or silk. But with the Real Touch, it's very easy to like fool the your guests because
Yeah.
it's gonna feel just like a real flower. I haven't done centerpieces yet. I'm kind of moving in that direction because I am getting customers that are asking, but I would encourage for those centerpieces to add the fresh florals or even add fresh greenery like eucalyptus, because it's going to give you the aroma.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to give you the scent like it's fresh flowers. And then if you go and touch it and you have that like, a few real flowers scattered in, and then the real touch, it's gonna be hard to know that they're not fresh flowers. But yeah, I would recommend
that is a good trick.
Yeah. I've been kind of plotting in my head what I'm gonna do when I get to that point.
Yeah. Okay, Liliana's got the trick on the centerpieces. Right, I
do.
Sprinkle mix some real flowers with your fake ones.
Yes.
Oh, I love that. Okay, so now I want to know, how did you get started in this whole thing? How long have you been doing this?
So I haven't been doing it very long. I actually had all the inventory come in and all, the flowers, and got everything set up and ready to go at the end of last year in October.
Okay.
But, with the holidays, and people are busy with Thanksgiving and Halloween, Thanksgiving, Christmas, I didn't want to start because I feel like everyone was just kind of in the
we're in holiday mode.
Family. Yeah, you're spending time with loved ones. So I waited to kind of really start pushing everything and focusing on this in the beginning of the year. So January, I started, and my first wedding was actually at the Collective in February.
Okay.
So that was my first wedding. And then ever since then, it's kind of taken off with the proposals and the weddings and then the shoots. So it's been so exciting to meet everyone and to kind of, get to know the different venues and the different vendors. And there's so much. It's exciting. It's a little intimidating at times, but it's so much fun. So it's just been a lot of learning and growing, and just kind of getting a feel for what the brides and the clients, are seeking and wanting. So
that's super cool. Okay, so you're in year one. That's an exciting year.
I'm in year one, and I'm already okay, we have the arches now. I'm actually in the process of getting the aisle flowers to match. Okay. And I'm just thinking of ways that I can also provide more resources to the brides, because they're excited and they want to know what else can you provide? And so that's where we're at now. Yeah.
So that's cool. Yeah, I remember year one of business. It's an exciting year. It's stressful, but it's exciting.
It's stressful. It's a little intimidating. You're like, oh my gosh, but it's so much fun.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah. That's cool. Okay, so then I have to ask the question, because we're in year one, right?
Yes.
Why? Why did you start this business?
You know what? I am in my family and my friends know this. I love to have, a vibe. I love to host, and I love to have I'm a huge flower, lover of flowers. Okay. So I love to do the centerpieces and decorate and the linens. I really have an eye for decorating and, just kind of doing that kind of thing. And I've always, 5 years ago when I was planning my wedding, I just got immersed in that whole world. And for a second, I was I just really wanted a piece of, I just really wanted to be in this industry. And so for a moment, I was you know what, I think I'm going to get into the chair rental and just started there. But I'm glad I didn't, because then I started thinking well, I'm going to need a truck, and I'm going to need, a lot of muscle and a lot of manpower. And so I kind of just held off on that. And then I just happened to see a flower wall one day, and I just fell in love with them. I'm they're so beautiful. They're so luscious looking. And I kind of started looking into that. And then I stumbled across the flower arches, and I just really realized and recognized that there was a gap in the wedding, industry, and that there wasn't this option, at least that I was aware of, in the time which was last summer. That I was looking, and I'm this would be a great solution to so many brides who are lovers of flowers and design like me, but maybe don't have the finances to dish out $20,000 into this very luscious looking, flower arrangement. So I really wanted to provide that as an option to people.
Yeah. Well, I think it's great. I mean, it's funny. You're talking about the true touch flowers, and the silk is getting better. It's technology has made so many advances that just impact so many different things. Even fake flowers.
Even fake flowers.
Yeah. I'm over here thinking about cameras and stuff, but it's no, technology impacts all kinds of things.
It really does. It's crazy. I'm I can't imagine what's to come.
Right. You just
I'm sure they'll
push a button and
incorporate,
the flowers will just grow.
yeah, or like they'll incorporate the scent in there somehow also. I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It'll just come in a can.
Yeah.
And you get flower scent.
Yeah.
All the florists who do real flowers are like, oh my gosh.
No, I know. I'm just like, oh God.
Oh man. Yeah, that's interesting. We actually have not had another florist on the show, so that's
Oh, really?
yeah. So well, you know, because we've got 1,000. Well, okay, right. So we're just going to insert an ad right here. That's what we're going to do. So we're just going to insert an ad.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. This episode is brought to you by the Evermoore Films Wedding Vendor Directory, and this directory has over 1,000 local vendors. We've got everything from florists to silk flowers to rentals to DJs, photographers, like literally everything. If you need a henna artist, like literally everything that you need for a wedding, we've got on this directory, right? And this is all local vendors in the Central California area, most of them in Kern County. We've expanded beyond Kern County now. We've got like at least 200 other vendors in like Fresno and SLO. So we have other areas too, but it's primarily Kern County right now. So if you're getting married in Central California, you need to check out this directory because we have so many resources and so many vendors you can contact. And Liliana's on there too.
Awesome.
Yeah. Very good.
That's exciting. There's so many vendors, man. I'm like,
yeah.
I wish I could meet everyone.
Right?
Yeah.
And where I was going with that is we want to have them all on this show, right? So like there's
so
at least
cool.
1,000 episodes, right?
Yeah.
And then by the time...
It would be awesome for brides to be able to be like, let me go through here and click and see and, you know, kind of get a glimpse of who they are and what they provide. And that's awesome.
Yeah. So anyway, we'll have to get some florists on here as well. And as well as every other category, everybody, if you're a vendor, sign up to be on the show. That's the other ad, right? Get on the show. Okay. So let's see. So Liliana, in your first year of business, have you had any good stories, any good horror stories, any good happy stories, just any stories that you would like to share with us?
Yes, I will say that I did have a moment when I was doing a proposal.
Okay.
And, you know, I hadn't really had a big problem with proposals. Like I did one at Freddo's and I did some in some backyards and it had been fine. But I did this one proposal and it happened to be a little windy. And I had not thought to like bring weights or sandbags with me. Yeah, so I set everything up and everything looked great. But I'm not gonna lie, I was a little nervous. I was like, oh my God, it's a little windy. And then I get a text from the client and they're like, oh my gosh, the arch fell. I was like, oh my goodness. So I went back and, you know, I was on my way back, but luckily she was like, no, everything was fine. We got it back up. We put like, I guess they had like a paver.
Oh, okay.
A brick paver or something. And she's like, we put it on there and it's fine. No worries. Like everything looks great. But I was just mortified. I was just like, oh my gosh,
right?
Like make yourself order sandbags or like get my gym like weights and never happening to me again, ever.
Yeah.
But that was definitely a like, what am I doing moment? Like, how did I miss this? How did I not think of this? And it wasn't even like super windy, but I guess it was just, I don't know.
Yeah. It's funny. Like anyone who's been in business for any length of time, mistakes happen, right?
Yeah.
And then we learn from them and they become lessons. But then they're also just stories.
Yeah.
You know, like I can remember early on, one time I was at a wedding and, you know, because like for video, getting a good audio feed from the DJ is really important. And, you know, I was at this wedding. We were at a beautiful winery in Temecula, right? I'm like, which story am I going to tell? Okay. We're going to tell the Temecula one.
You have so many.
Right? I'm like, audio, there's a bunch of stories. Okay. We'll do the Temecula one. So we're gorgeous, you know, couple, super sweet. They're like, they found us last minute. Their videographer, like, I forget, something crazy happened. Their videographer canceled on them. Something terrible happened. And they booked us like 3 weeks before the wedding. And they were so excited. They found us, whatever. And so we go down there. Everything is amazing. Everything's gorgeous. There's actually an iPad story at this wedding too. But anyway, we're at the reception. toasts are going on, and as a videographer, getting good audio of the toasts is like it's like one of the most important things, right? Because it's like I have to take these toasts, I got to put them in their highlight film, and if it sounds like garbage, that's bad. And so, you know, I was always Mr. like have backup plans, right? And so we're going, and the toasts are going, and the DJ's mic starts cutting out, like come on, just bad. And this is like 12 years ago, back when wireless equipment was still like having lots of issues frequently. And the mic is just cutting out. And finally, like, I can't remember who was, I think it was the maid of honor was talking at the moment. And she's just like, I don't need this microphone, and puts it down. And I'm like, cutting out is bad. No audio is worse. And I had another guy, a buddy helping me film, and it's like we look at each other, and I'm like, okay, plan B. And so I run over to our equipment bag and grab one of our spare audio recorders, you know, that has mics built into it. And I just have to set it on the table next to the people, you know, the head table next to the people who are talking. I just hit record, stick it on the table, and just like, please God, let this work. And we picked up good enough audio that we were able to, you know, do some noise reduction and, you know, all that nerdy stuff. And we saved it, and it turned out good. And after that, I was like, okay, well, now for years, I'm like, I'm doing two things. One, I am always going to put a recorder on that head table, because I never know when this is going to go wrong. So it's like you learn. So then you put a safety recorder on the head table. And at some point we had other issues, and I started, like I had a recorder die. For no reason, like I don't know why it died. Like the battery was like, you don't know, and it's plugged in. And so now it's like, okay, well now we're going to bring two recorders. we're going to split the feed from the DJ into two recorders. Like so all kinds of backups and things that you do, you know, that you just learn. Things happen, things go wrong, and you learn, and you have to adapt. And it just happens sometimes.
And the stress and the way you beat yourself up afterwards is just like,
you're like, what did I do wrong? How could I never let that happen again? So that is how it goes. Everyone has those stories. Oh man.
I hope I don't have too many more, but
right. That they happen to everybody. Okay. So let's see. What do you feel like sets you apart? Right. So as couples are looking, and they're looking for, generally, like they're looking for flowers, right? Yeah. And they may or may not be looking for fake flowers, but they're going to come across you at some point in their research process and be like, okay, what is this about? So what do you feel like sets you apart as couples are researching flower options?
I think what sets me apart is that there isn't very many people out there that are providing, you know, that look and that, like, you know, kind of like the full look that you can get from obviously fresh flowers within maybe a budget that would fit their wedding, you know, that would make sense for their wedding budget. So I don't think that there's very many people out there that have that as an option for brides or for, you know, special events, you know, bridal showers or this and that. So I think that is probably what sets me apart, I think.
That's great. Yeah, I mean, because we all know budgets are a thing. And
everything is just so expensive. And I trust me, like, I know the feeling of like, this is the one day that as a, you know, little girl and as, you know, woman, you want this like magical fairy tale, and you want it to look the way it does in your dreams. Yeah. But sometimes some of us have like that really expensive taste and isn't always within our budget. So I really feel like I provide a solution to those brides that really are, you know, in their heart set on like, I really want it to look like this. And I think I can provide that within like a reasonable price range.
That's great. Well, I mean, that naturally leads into the budget topic, right? Yes. So as brides are budgeting for florals, right? It's like you go to any of these places, you go to, you know, the Knot or Wedding Wire or some wedding binder you got at, you know, Michael's or whatever it may be. Like, there's so many places where you go and you get some sort of a template budget, or you get some kind of number from someone or your sister or your mom or somebody gives you a number and is like, well, this is how much you should spend. Right. And half the time those numbers are like off the wall ridiculous one way or another, usually too low.
Yeah.
Usually.
I know.
So what sort of ballpark price ranges would you recommend that couples expect to spend for the florals for their wedding?
You know what? I'm going to be honest with you. When it comes to fresh florals at this moment, like I haven't had to price out fresh florals in
Right.
a long time for that. I think I'm scared to know what the real,
Right.
budget would be. The only thing I can tell you is for like, our arches. And so right now, it's our first year in business. So we're kind of learning and all this. But right now, what I have a budget that I can give brides to work with me, it would be anywhere from like $500 to $1,500 for
Okay.
the ceremony pieces. So for the arch and for the aisle flowers, for having like centerpieces, and if there's a bride out there that wants to do everything in like our silk or real touch florals, I think we're not all the way there yet because I'm not
Right.
fully priced out on centerpieces yet, but I would say anywhere from like $1,500 to $2,500. So that's kind of where our brain is at the moment. But yeah, I kind of feel like that's the budget that I would say for silk florals.
And that would just be like the bulk price for all the tables. That are, obviously depends on how many tables, and all that kind of stuff. But yeah.
And it depends, like, how, like if they want the real touch or if they're just wanting the silk. So all those little things would factor into it. But yeah,
Right.
I would say if they're wanting the centerpieces and all that good stuff, that's where I'm thinking at the moment. But I'm not quite there yet.
Right.
Like I haven't had to do that yet, but that's where I'm kind of thinking once I get there.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
Are you thinking about getting into like bouquets and stuff as well? Or is that like such a different animal? I'm like,
I don't know. I kind of feel like there's,
I will say I have seen fake flower bouquets at weddings.
yeah.
I've seen enough of them that I'm like, okay, this is definitely a thing.
A thing. Yeah, I think, you know what? I haven't had anyone come to me and say I would like a silk bouquet, but I'm not opposed to it. I just haven't had to yet. I've had the question of like, are we doing centerpieces yet? And are we doing like, I have arches, but I haven't had to do like where I put my florals on an already pre-made like arch, like at the Mill Creek.
Oh, okay.
So I have those kind of
so you have
questions.
your own arches, and so you're
Right,
saying
I have my own arches that I transport there, but I haven't had to do where I'm taking just the florals and attaching them to an existing arch. So I've had those questions, but I haven't had anyone ask me for an actual bouquet, but I'm not opposed to it. I just haven't had that yet. So we're still growing and we're still learning, but no, I think like I'm totally not opposed to it. I just think I'd have to have a bride that's interested in that.
Okay. Well, it's good to know that those prices are includes the rental of the arch too.
Yeah. So the arches are it includes like the metal arch and all that. Yeah.
That's great. It's not just the flowers. It's
right. No,
the
it's
arch
not just
and the flowers. That's cool.
The full arch. Yeah.
That's nice.
So yeah, but because you brought up the bouquet, I think it would be cool. Oh, my lights went out. Let me go get them right now.
Yep, that's right.
I think it would be cool for like the one you toss, like the one that you like, because some brides want to preserve their flowers,
right?
Like their bouquet. But if you're gonna toss one to like, maybe they can keep it as a memory. It would be cool to do it in the silk flowers.
Yeah. Or sometimes you've seen like the exploding, bouquets that brides toss.
Yeah.
Like that'd be fun to do with the fake flowers too.
Yeah. Let me go get the lights really quick.
Yeah, that's totally fine. As we are doing this, one of our other sponsors for this show is NAL Entertainment. And NAL Entertainment is a full-service DJ company, and they provide DJ services. They do all kinds of things. They've got a team of DJs, and every time I have worked with Nate, who's the owner, or his team, they have done a fantastic job. So we're happy to have them as a sponsor of the show as well. So check out NAL Entertainment. They're on Instagram. They've got a website, all that good stuff, and check them out. Okay, we are back from our other sponsor ad. Okay, so we're talking about budgeting, and we're talking about options of what you provide, so that's great. What advice would you have for couples as they are looking for flowers, whether that be, of any kind?
I would say just to kind of start looking early on. I think that sometimes I've had seen a lot of brides that kind of will come to me and want a very specific look, but they're coming to me like within too much of a short time frame. So I would say if you have something very specific in mind and you really set on something, make sure that you're giving like, a fresh florist or, myself enough time to where they can, source the product that's necessary and get it, there. And, even that it's in season for fresh florists. I would say just to give yourself enough time and not wait until it's too short of notice where it's not possible to make your dreams come to fruition.
Yeah. Well, and like you said, you can get anything, in like a silk flower, but it takes time.
Right.
So we say, give them enough time, at least for you, because I know you can't really speak to the fresh flowers, but for you, what does enough time mean?
Enough time, I would say at least like 4 months. Give me at least 4 to 6 months, because I feel like if it's too short of a time, sometimes, with flowers, it is like within season, but for me, it's within production. So I have to make sure that the color that they're wanting is going to be able to be, the quantity that they're looking for is available. Because sometimes I'll reach out to a supplier and they only have we only have 80 of these stems and I need, maybe a different quantity. So I would say just giving me enough time to get those delivered and my doorstep within enough time.
That makes sense. Okay, so that opens up a fun question. What sort of customizations are available? Like if a bride is like, these are my colors, can I get flowers in these in some totally unnatural color, because they're silk flowers? Yeah,
you can. So even I've had one event where I've done for a little boy, and they wanted to add baby blue roses to this white arch that I have. And so, there's no baby blue real flowers, but there are in the silk world. So we were able to add baby blue roses and you kind of scatter them throughout. So that is the cool thing. So I have pre-made arches that I already made. And so I've had like a baby shower where they wanted more pinks and purples, and I'm able to add those in and pop them in, and then I pop them out, and then I leave it how it normally is. And then I have the same arch that's being used for, I don't know, something else like a baptism, and then I'm able to add more of those neutral tones like the whites and the creams. So it's so cool how you can kind of customize things to what the person is wanting, or the same with the fresh, adding the fresh in there.
Right.
There's these little tubes that have the water supply for the fresh flowers, and you tube the rose, and then you pop it in there, and it's beautiful.
Oh, that's cool.
Fresh floral. So that's kind of the kind of cool thing that you could do, is you could play with it and tweak it and customize it.
That's really cool. I haven't seen the tubes. I've seen the green foam I don't know what it's called.
Yeah. I think that just like the florists use it too for those really delicate stems, as they use a water source so that they won't wilt. Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool. Well, Liliana, this was really fun.
It was.
Yeah. Thanks for talking and sharing a little bit about your business.
Oh, thank you for inviting me. I really appreciate it. It's been nice having this chat back and forth.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, before we go, why don't you let people know how they can get a hold of you?
Okay, so the best way to get a hold of me right now is via Instagram. So I have my Instagram is Swoon Floral Rentals, and then I also have linked on there my email, which is swoonfloralrentals@gmail.com. And then I also have on there a link to a phone number where you can call me.
Awesome. And Liliana, last fun question is, who else would you like to have us, who else would you like to see on the show? Other vendors.
Let's see, let me think. Have you had, what, I just think because I've just really wanted to go to this venue, have you had the lady, or I think it's a lady, the owner from the Vista del Lago?
Yes, Sanam. We've had her on. Yes.
Oh my gosh, I have to go and look at that.
Yeah. I think she was episode 4. We had her on pretty early. Yeah.
I really want to go there. It just looks so dreamy.
It is gorgeous.
Yeah.
Yeah. We did a wedding there some point last year. Yeah, we've done a few things there, but yeah, it's gorgeous.
You know what? Another one that I know you probably haven't, because it's a newer venue, and I'm so excited to get in there, is the Finca El Encanto. Have you heard of that?
Okay, we've heard of it.
Yes.
I've had a few people mention it, but we haven't been there, and they have not been on the show.
Okay, so that would be exciting because I do have a bride that reached out to me and it's for 2025, but she's getting married there and I'm so excited. So it would
Yeah.
be fun to have them on.
Yeah, that's awesome. Okay, well, thank you, Liliana.
Thank you.
That is it. We are done.
So much fun. Thank you so much for having me on.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you for being on the show. Well, I hope that you enjoyed the show. And if you liked the show, if you enjoyed listening and hanging out with us, feel free to like, subscribe, comment. We are on Apple Podcasts. We are on YouTube Podcasts. We are on Spotify Podcasts. So find a place where you like listening to us. I mean, obviously, wherever you listen to us right now, right? You like that, right? So just hit like. It's quick and easy. And then you can leave a review. You can subscribe for the next episode. So thanks again. And we look forward to seeing you on the next episode.